And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We're talking Lewis Hamilton and a day of firsts. First sprint win for Lewis Hamilton. First sprint win for Ferrari. First sprint win of the year and a first pole position for Oscar Piastri. Team Papaya, Team Scuderia Ferrari. It's all happening. So, upon his sprint win, Lewis Hamilton came out to the naysayers and said, to basically, in short, if you turned on Captain Subtext, it was like, to all my doubters, ha 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 ha. Yes, is Lewis Hamilton the greatest? Ferrari could not get a sprint win. They've not had a sprint win within the last 4 years, since 2021, since the sprint format came in. Lewis Hamilton hasn't had a sprint win. Today, he did, and arguably, it's debatable whether it was the fastest car, but him and Max had a ding-dong. It wasn't a side-by-side battle, but still Max Verstappen managed to hang on in what was, I think, a very difficult Red Bull. But he did for the first half of the race, and then the tyres slowly went away, possibly in the wake of Lewis Hamilton. But still, an absolutely amazing day, at least an amazing sprint day for Lewis Hamilton. Less good in the qualifying, yeah, a bit coming back down to earth there. Is Lewis Hamilton the greatest statistically? Probably. Maybe. But on the sprint day, he absolutely was the greatest, especially with those comments of Helmut Marko coming out the day before saying Lewis Hamilton is really, really good. But even in a lesser car, I'd choose Max Verstappen. Yeah, that's aged like milk, hasn't it? But there we go. I wouldn't expect anything less from Helmut Marko. But Lewis Hamilton wins the sprint race in China. Next up, we have Oscar Piastri in second. So, dear old Piastri. I mean, he qualified third, didn't he? And I thought Oscar Piastri was going to be favourite to win. Absolutely, we did. And then you kind of got halfway through, and he was clawing, getting near Max Verstappen. And at times, he was fairly far back. In the end, he got Max. But I think that was purely on tyres rather than outright, the pace of the car. It was just the McLaren looking after its tyres better. So George Russell finishing fourth once again. Nowhere to be seen, but qualifying is a bit different. He's just like the sneaky contender, isn't he? Fifth was Charles Leclerc. I think he'd be disappointed with that, with the overall weekend up to then. Yuki Tsunoda, Racing Bulls, in sixth. Absolutely fantastic. I think he'll be looking behind and looking at a certain Liam Lawson, but we'll get into that in a bit. Seventh, Kimi Antonelli, not bad. And eighth, oh dear, Lando Norris, he didn't get a good start. And it was more choke Norris on Lando Norris, sadly, on the first lap, because he went wide, hit the, over the curb, hit the dust and etc. And lost the place there. It was just a really scruffy race from Lando. And then he never really got going, did he? Which was kind of sad. So this is the entire sprint results. Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Verstappen. That's your podium. So fourth was George Russell. Fifth was Charles Leclerc. Sixth was Yuki Tsunoda. Seventh, Andrea Kimi Antonelli. Eighth, the last in the points was Lando Norris. 23.4 seconds in the end. But Hamilton won by 6.8. A comfortable 6.8. It didn't look so comfortable for at least the first two-thirds of the race. So, ninth was Lance Stroll, beating his teammate, Fernando Alonso, by over 10 seconds. Alonso finishing 38 seconds down, Lance Stroll finishing 24, nearly 25. And so next up, we've got Alexander Albon, just outside the top 10 in 11th. Pierre Gasly in 12th. Isaac Hadjar, not bad in 13th. He finished the race. So that was more than he did in Australia, so well done. Liam Lawson got all the way up to 14th. He had a few good laps. There was a bit of a barging around and pushing people off at one bit. Well, I thought, could that be a penalty? It was under investigation. Luckily for Liam, fortunately, it was not. Oliver Behrman 15th. Esteban Ocon 16th. Carlos Sainz in 17th. Carlos had to pit. I don't know what went wrong, but something went wrong. He pitted. Yeah, he still finished 17th, pretty much because Jack Doohan came together with Gabriele Bortoleto at that hairpin at the end of the long straight in China, and it all went horribly wrong. And I think Hulkenberg got involved as well. It was just it was almost like an online lobby for F1 2024. So, sprint race, P3 and P14 then for Max. Not bad for Max. I think that was the best he realistically could have done in hindsight. I don't think Max could have done any more. Liam Lawson, well, it's the big enigma, isn't it? This second Red Bull seat. What on earth? What on earth is going on for Liam Lawson? It's just absolute bizarre. Bizarro land. And this is Lando Norris. He said, visually, yours do look slightly worse than people. This is about his tyre wear. There was Norris also here going wide on lap 1, which ended up costing him, let's be fair, a really poor result, because there's Piastri there. You can see Piastri. There's Leclerc. There is Kimi Antonelli, and yeah, he just fell behind, didn't he? It was a bit silly. So, but he knows for next time. So, we say next time, but there we go. So when we look at the overall sprint winners, we've got a Max Verstappen on an amazing 11, Valtteri Bottas and Oscar Piastri have 2, George Russell, Sergio Perez, Lando Norris each have 1. Remember, Lando Norris could have had 2, but he gave way to Oscar Piastri for letting him essentially win in Brazil. And Lewis Hamilton on just the 1, which is weird, isn't it? One of the greatest of all time, statistically, just on that 1 sprint win. But he's got it off the board. So this then, moving forward to qualifying. This is the grid. Much better. If you're a McLaren fan, you should be smiling. If you're a Piastri fan, you should be elated. It's Piastri on pole, alongside George Russell. 3rd is Lando Norris. 4th is Max Verstappen. Disappointing for the 2 Ferrari drivers in 5th and 6th. They're going to be scratching their heads. Lewis Hamilton said in an interview they did some changes, and it kind of didn't work. Now, whether they can change those changes back, I don't know. Whether it was just the front wing or something similar. If they can't change the changes back, it's going to be slightly concerning for the race, unless, knowing, for example, that the race is longer, the fuel is heavier, maybe the ride height has to come up a tiny bit. The changes are with a view of the race. Who knows? But they did have decent time, because even Leclerc in the sprint race was coming good towards the end. 7th, Isaac Hadjar, out qualifying Tsunoda, absolutely fantastic. 8th, Kimi Antonelli. I don't think he'll be too disappointed compared to Melbourne, but in the top 10, I don't think he'll be elated. He'll be like, I guess. 9th, Tsunoda, well done, but out qualified by Hadjar. I mean, Hadjar, what a result. 10th, Alexander Albon, again for the 3rd time in a row, out qualifying Carlos Sainz when no one gave him a prayer. So 11th was Ocon, 12th was Hulkenberg, 13th Alonso out qualifies 14th place Lance Stroll. 15th was, I think, a disappointing Sainz. 16th Gasly, 17th Behrman, 18th Doohan, 19th Bortoleto, and yeah, Liam Lawson for the 2nd time in a row is 20th in China. What is going on with that Rebel seat? I mean, come on. And this was Liam Lawson. Maybe he's got to eat his word. This was a quote. It may be, I don't know if it was taken out of context, but he doubles down on the Yuki Tsunoda rivalry, saying he's had his time. Once again, like Helmut Marko's words, that's kind of aged like, that's not aged particularly well, has it, Lawson? I mean, I know. One of the good things, kind of like Max, he's always up for an interesting quote. It's always interesting. If I remember his best race being Abu Dhabi 21, I was like, oh my god, oh wow, you troll. But we know he's a lot better than the 20th he's qualified. I mean, when he came in, he was a challenging Yuki Tsunoda in 2023 and 2024. He wasn't really that far away at all from Yuki Tsunoda. So surely there's something else that's going on. Whether it's the setup, whether, once again, as I mentioned yesterday, the car's completely built around Max Verstappen. I just don't know. But for whatever reason, something is going on. And I don't think, although Liam Lawson, there is an issue there potentially. You can't all put it in Liam Lawson's camp at this stage, with Perez struggling, Albon struggling, Gasly struggling in the second Red Bull, and now Liam Lawson. No, there's most certainly more to it. But let's talk a good story. Isaac Hadjar crashes out on the formation lap, and then qualifies 7th for the Chinese Grand Prix a week later. Absolutely well done. I mean, fantastic. If you can get in the points, that will be amazing. So, Isaac Hadjar, well done. Well done, Isaac Hadjar. Great stuff. And it is a double Q3 finish for the Racing Bulls, who look much, in some way, they've obviously got their car quite happy, because the two teammates are really close to each other. And if you remember when Liam Lawson was there, I imagine they would be really close to each other. So, which is why I keep saying you cannot put all the blame on the Liam Lawson camp. I think Liam Lawson is a really good driver, with really, with I think a really, really high potential. Red Bull obviously saw something over Tsunoda, which is why they chose him. Yeah, Red Bull have got, Red Bull. So McLaren sprint result P2 and P8. We're going back to that sprint, but once again, not very good for Lando Norris, is it? But he is starting third. And the important thing is, Lando said they've made some changes to the car. So I'm thinking McLaren could be in for a very good result in the race. The ally is George Russell. We know Max Verstappen's possibly not that fast, but they've made some changes too for the race. What will George Russell do? Because he seemed to be nowhere in the sprint race in terms of fourth. I mean, a solid result. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Secretly want George Russell to get the lead, and that's going to be really spicy then, with everyone trying to get past him. So qualifying results, P10, P15 for the Williams team. Well done, Alexander Albon. At what stage do you think Carlos Sainz is going to start scratching his head going, oh my gosh? And I tell you what, Alexander Albon, once again, proving a lot better than we think he is. We thought he was coming into the season. I mean, 10th. Points for Williams. We're most certainly going to have our fingers crossed. And P5 and P6 for Ferrari. Sort of like a come down to earth after the woeful Australia, the wonderful sprint qualifying and sprint win. And now 5th and 6th, which is what Charles Leclerc said, which is where they sort of thought there'd be a couple of tenths off. It's going to be interesting to see how Lewis manages that tyre wear now in the pack rather than at the front. And if you can manage it nearly as well as he did at the front, well, surely he could be looking for a podium or indeed a win. But there we go. That is the grid then for the Chinese Grand Prix. If you made it to the end, you're absolutely amazing. If you are not, please hit that subscribe button. It gives me a smile to see the numbers go up. But if I'm honest, you just watching this is more than enough for us. But if you want to do a bit more, hit that like button and comment below. Let us know what you think about qualifying. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And see you next time. And stay safe.